Okay, fine, but this is the last time. I promise, I'm not doing this again. You've heard it all before. Basically, every single Five Nights at Freddy's character's got some sort of merchandise, be it figures, plushies, fidget spinners, you name it. And sometimes quality of said merch can vary. Yeah, vary. I'm sure you've seen a bunch of good and bad ones in my last two videos covering this series. If you haven't, please do that. But we're not done. I've still yet to cover every single character. So, starting from Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, I'm going to try and do that today. Surely there's not that many, right? Oh. But before I get to that, please remember that this video is just a result of my bad opinions. Your hypothetical list of best and worst merch for characters will probably not ever look the same as mine. Okay, same old as before, let's get into it. But this time, I'm ready for that sign. Won't hit me again. I swear I left a mark somewhere. Ooh. Kicking off our list is Rockstar Freddy, and whoa, that's a lot of money. Thankfully, he doesn't cost that much in action figure form, specifically Funkos, which is probably his best. Practically everything here is accurate to his look from in-game, surprisingly getting that purple metallic paint he has, like, spot on. And compared to his thicker counterparts, he's much more fun to pose around, with all the usual articulation for figures like these. I will mention I am missing his microphone. I don't know where I put it, but he does have one. Unfortunately, maybe due to the drought in FNAF-related content across the board during this time, Funko's next series, besides the black lights, was simply a glow-in-the-dark way for the exact same figures. Which, in my opinion, puts this version of Rockstar Freddy as his worst piece of merch. I guess it's just not my thing, and feels pretty lazy, especially concerning the fact that this game holds way too many characters to be doing something like this. And, honestly, it looks like a bootleg. Next up is Rockstar Bonnie. Now, admittedly, there's not a lot to choose from. He kinda got shafted here, but his McFarlane figure from the deluxe concert stage set looks pretty good, with the only glaring issue here being, well, that missing guitar. Whether this is due to the whole Flying V guitar lawsuit or not, he still looks like he's just missing something here. This also seems to be the case with his Mystery Mini, and also the glow-in-the-dark version. Yeah, that's right. Funko also decided to make glow-in-the-dark recolors of the already good-looking Pizza Sim Mystery Minis, which, in Bonnie's case, is easily his worst. No guitar here really doesn't help his case, though. It kinda looks like he's trying to wave at me. Like Rockstar Bonnie, this old bird, I'm never doing that again, also doesn't have a lot of merchandise, but once again, like that scary blue bunny, she's got a pretty perfect looking McFarlane figure. There's really not much to say here. It captures her likeness, proportions, and large maracas very well. But, you know, Rockstar Chica also has a glow-in-the-dark Mystery Mini. Yeah, it's her worst. Not much to say here, really. Finishing off these rock stars is Rockstar Foxy, which, like Freddy, has a fantastic looking Funko figure. Everything, down to his colors, model, and accessories, is practically one-to-one with the games, even coming with his parrot, ow! Which, strangely, his Mystery Mini is sorely lacking. In fact, even though I could put the glow-in-the-dark Mystery Mini here, I find it pretty disappointing that the base Mini is just not as good as the other ones. The colors are all wrong, no green bird, and he's not even naked. Reusing the same pants from the first Foxy Mini, just yellow for some reason. I mean, look, I'm glad he's covered up now, you know, but I don't know, whatever. Oh, here comes LP. For being such a marketable little guy, it's no surprise that practically every company with the FNAF license has taken a stab at loads of merch for him. But among the rubble, I really do think that Funko may have the best, being their Snaps figure. Hope he almost feels like he was made to be a Snap figure, with the proportions feeling very on point and the addition of an adorable swappable faceplate and balloon. However, he was also subject to the plush backpack treatment by BioWorld. Honestly speaking, this really isn't all too bad. He's got lots of good merchandise items, but something about his expression kinda looks like he's gonna be beat up or something. I don't know, he looks really scared. Moving on to a slightly less frightening character, Scrap Baby. And should have seen it coming, her best is the Funko figure. The amount of detail packed in here is really impressive, and besides some of the coloring and wires, sort of the eyes too, it's practically the same look as Scrap Baby herself, which, considering how intricate the design is pretty cool to have in action figure form. Her only other piece of merch is the Mystery Mini, which by default is the worst, I guess. It looks really good though, just missing a few minor details that these minis really never have anyways. I think my figure bias is starting to show. Alright, Scraptrap. Everybody, and I mean everybody's favorite version of Springtrap has, literally nothing. He's got nothing. So, because I totally didn't forget to include Dark Springtrap, yes, he's an actual character, the one in the Sister Location Custom Night cutscene. In part 2 of this series, I will humbly do so now. That's the best, and, that's the worst. Looks less accurate, I guess. How in the world does he have more merch than Scraptrap? Going along, Molten Freddy's best is his mystery mini. It all around captures this big bag of wires really well, and it's just flouted adorable for, Molten Freddy standards. His McFarlane figure, however, surprisingly doesn't look as good. Besides the custom head mold, this very light gray looking Bonnie is entirely made up of both a Yendo and Ennard's body pieces, with, something going on with his legs. And come on, no bow tie? It just feels pretty lazy. The last of the Pizza Sim baddies is Lefty, who is definitely the one with the most merch to choose from, at least for the specific group. But come on, it has to be the Funko statue. I think it genuinely might be one of the best pieces of merchandise this series has ever produced. It almost doesn't even look real. Having the puppet actually trying to crawl her way out of Lefty is just super cool. I mean, how could you hate this? Unfortunately, Funko has had a pretty good run with Lefty merch overall. Well, except for the Funko figure, weirdly. At first, it may look pretty standard, until you realize that Lefty here seems to be, well, right-handed. Look, I can get over him being a recolor of Rockstar Freddy. They only really have a few minor differences, but really? Not even a switch up of hands here? I mean, it's literally in his name. For trash in the gang, well, I mean, you could always try and make something. I don't know. No company has dared to lay their hands on these hashes of trash, and they, probably never will. Moving on to the mediocre melodies, our first member here is Pig Patch, and believe it or not, I actually like his Funko Pop a lot. The different colored eyes make him pop really well. Get it? And he carries that same charm that Big Patch sort of has. At least a slightly innocent look that started to get lost a little. Also, the Funko figure kinda looks like he wants to kill me in my sleep, which to me means that the glow-in-the-dark Funko figure is his worst. Yeah. For Ned Bear, he's got a Funko Mystery Mini. I'd say it looks pretty good, and honestly really accurate. It's not bad for literally all he has. Mr. Hippo's, not got much more, but his Funko Pop looks pretty good here too. I'd say it's the best. Not much to really talk about though. Looks like a Mr. Hippo Funko Pop. His Funko Plush, however, I don't know. I feel it could have been done a bit better. Now, is it better than the glow-in-the-dark Mystery Mini? Probably not. But I'm kind of sick of putting this on the list, so... Also, no donut ears. Totally lame. Mr. Hippo's good friend and occasional picnic buddy, Orville's got a really good Funko Pop. Kind of like Pig Patch, it gets a lot of his features right without looking too cursed. The Funko figure's good too, don't get me wrong, but this pair of upper teeth is just, ugh, I don't like it, no. Worse is the glow-in-the-dark Mystery Mini. Finishing off the mediocre melodies is Happy Frog's Funko Pop. This is her best, really. Surprisingly, pretty good Funko Pops here. Maybe these designs just work better in this style for me. While we're on the same topic, funnily enough, Happy Frog was subject to a quite popular misprint when she was first released, having no yellow ring around her eyes. It's actually still featured on the official Amazon page. So, does this count as her worst? Maybe. If not, you know, glow-in-the-dark Mystery Mini, or yeah. Don't worry though, El Chip's best is definitely his Funko figure. It's pretty much his exact look from in-game. Oh, and glow-in-the-dark Funko figure. Can't say I don't like to spice things up sometimes, am I right? The security puppet just has the Funko plush. I think a thin line down the front of the mask would have made this a bit more accurate, but it looks good otherwise. Really expensive now too, jeez. Music Man has, well, nothing. Good. Funtime Chica's got a good and really detailed Mystery Mini, even including the missing panel she has there. Wow. But, also a glow-in-the-dark Mystery Mini. Okay. For Candy Cadet, his Mystery Mini is like really good, practically perfect in my eyes. Every single one of his smaller details, buttons, and colors is all captured perfectly in such a tiny figure. The Funko plush is not bad, necessarily. I think they try their best at least, but the printed on fabric doesn't feel great, and the blue color here really isn't all too accurate. I'd still sorta love them though. The rest of the Pizza Sim characters, if you can even call them that, have absolutely no merchandise. That being Prize King, Lemonade Clown, and I guess the fake paper pals, those guys suck. The only exceptions to this are Fruit Punch Clown and the Egg Baby, who both have perfect looking Funko mystery minis. Just a tad terrifying though. Fun fact, Egg Baby and a few other characters on this list were, at one point, actually supposed to have Good Stuff plushies made, but they were never released, only having a few prototype pictures of them. Looks, also terrifying. And, well, that wraps up Pizza Sim, which means we're on to Ultimate Custom Night. There shouldn't be any new characters here, right? I mean, this is literally a compilation of animatronics from the series. Or at least so I thought. There does seem to be one piece of merch for one new character here, commonly referred to as Samurai Foxy. Remember those post-night cutscenes in the game? Yep, that's the one. He's actually got a McFarlane figure featuring a small section of his temple. I'd say that he looks fantastic for being such a small figure, probably one of their best. With that over with, we finally enter our Steel Bull era of game characters, starting with Glitch Trap. And while it was close between the Funko figure and U2's Chibi plush, I genuinely like the design that U2 was going for here. These colors are genuinely spot on, and it's all tied into a pretty clever way of translating this into a more cutesy design. And while it looks good for the most part, there are quite a few problems with the Funko figure, if I'm being honest. But not as many as the newly released Funko plush. Yeah, using the Vanny plush as the base for this guy probably wasn't the smartest idea here. It sort of looks like he has a mustache too. I mean, isn't there already an actual Glitch Trap plush in the games? Whatever. Shadow Mangle, who, yes, is a character in Help Wanted, specifically this level, has a fairly strong relationship with U2's, as they've made both a figure and a plush for this guy. And the only real reason I'm putting her plush as the best here is due to how fragile the figure seems to be. Trust me, all I've seen of this purple Mangle is it in many differently scattered broken pieces. This also applies to the normal Mangle figure. I know that this design is no easy feat, but it seems to have worked in the past. Not sure what happened here. The rest of Help Wanted's cast are either pretty much just regular FNAF characters like Ultimate Custom Night, or have no merch as of yet. Until we get to the DLC, Curse of Dreadbear. The titular character himself has a good enough Funko figurine. The only thing that bugs me here is the color, as it's more of a minty green color for my liking, but that seems to be the case for literally all of his merch, really. Like the U2's plush, which just borders on being his worst. I think the Funko plush accomplishes all this and more at a much more affordable price, and also two different sizes for some reason. Like Dreadbear, Captain Foxy's best is also his Funko figure, which looks phenomenal. Can barely crack a cool pose though, his range of articulation is extremely limited. The Funko plush, being the only other one he has, is fine. I'm just really not a fan of this eye ring that Funko adds to these plushies, especially when it has like no real reason to be there. Grim Foxy, another fox, actually was given a McFarlane figure in one of the very few released Help Wanted sets, and it looks pretty good for the most part. At least he stays fairly consistent and even comes with a few cardboard cutouts and a small section of the corn maze. His Funko plush, kinda like with the Jackos, which was released alongside, is stylized in a way that sorta makes him a bit unrecognizable, at least with this specific character's details. He's missing those weird dark shoulder hinges, endoskeleton ears, and again, just kinda looks off to me. But before continuing on with Steel Bull's characters, we have to make a brief pit stop for, where else but FNAF AR. And unlike the game itself now, the countless amounts of new characters and skins here have been essentially immortalized solely by Funko. There are a lot of figures, mystery minis, plushies, keychains, etc. that filled store shelves from around 2020 to 2022, to a generally mixed reaction from fans. Our first skin, or character actually, is Freddy Fazbear, whose best is probably his Funko plush. Something about this specific blue color mixed with a plaid bow tie, I'd say looks pretty cool. Get it? Cool. Plus, he stays as accurate as a plushie design like this can get, without bordering on too much unnecessary detail. His worst, being this strange candy case thingy, is kinda just a funny inclusion. Can't comment on the candy taste, however. Maybe it's like amazing or something. Our next lucky contestant is Shamrock Freddy, and I'd say, like Freddy Fazbear, his Funko plush this time around is just really adorable and done quite well, even if it does have those ugly eye rings. On the other hand, his Funko figure kinda looks like someone smeared chocolate all over him. Seriously though, if it's trying to capture that weird grime or dirt on the AR animatronics, it's not doing a very good job. Speaking of chocolate, next is Chocolate Bonnie, whose Funko figurine looks great. Love the peeking endoskeleton bits. Though I will say Hex will probably take this spot whenever this little guy releases. He also has a Funko Popsy. They're like replacements for card gradings, I think. I'm not entirely sure. It makes sense why he has one. He is Easter themed after all. I'm just not sure the appeal is there for a lot of people. Looks fine, I guess, but yeah, it's his worst. However, we're not stopping with the Easter themed skins just yet, because here's Easter Bonnie, who has an alright Funko figure. It is just a Bonnie recolor. I will say that no name tag on the ear, and the strange lack of any pupils for the eyes put him down a bit. You know what? Maybe he is the worst. That's all he has, so yeah, one worst. VR Toy Freddy, though, has a really cool Funko figure, a completely new mold made specifically for a skin of Toy Freddy. Although, I don't see much appeal in this inverted plush for this character. Instead of making potentially new characters, this plush simply switches the character's color scheme for a slightly different design, and boom, Hot Topic exclusive. A very weird decision for sure, but yeah, definitely the worst. Our second Toy Freddy skin is Livewire Toy Freddy, which, again, has a great Funko figure. It's kind of the same as the other one, just filled with a completely different head and colors. Not much else to really say here. The Mystery Mini is, fine. Pretty much what you'd expect from a mini of this character. Nothing crazy here either. And, I'll be honest, for Game Over Toy Chica, System Error Toy Bonnie, and Radioactive Foxy, basically the rest of this whole wave, I picked their Funko figures as their best pieces of merchandise. They all are done surprisingly well, just a shame that we never got regular versions of the toy animatronics. And, like VR Toy Freddy, I really am not a fan of the inverted Funko plushies for all three of them either. I don't understand why they were made, besides just wanting to reuse the same plush body for its stupid exclusives. For Toxic Springtrap, I think the Mystery Mini looks great and is pretty accurate to the skin from in-game. I like the gray coloring here, and the open jaw just completes it perfectly. And while the Funko figure looks good too, that yellow nose bugs me way too much. I'm sorry. Firework Freddy is next, and this Star Spangled Patriot's best is probably also his Funko figure for the billionth time again, but I mean, come on. It looks really good and detailed. He even looks a little more like Freddy than, well, Freddy himself with this new head mold. Fit with no upper teeth, but also no freckles. Weird. His Funko plush is actually not the worst. At least I can't willingly put it there. It's cute and debatably is better and more accurate colors than the first Funko Freddy plush. And since that's all he has, yeah, no worst here, I guess. Liberty Chica, a literal Statue of Liberty version of Chica, is probably one of my favorite Funko figures. Please don't kill me. Her accessories are all so good, and while, yeah, her body is pretty much a giant hunk of plastic, she can't move much at all. That's exactly what she looks like from FNAF AR, even capturing her big black spot on the back of her head. Like so many others, her only other piece of merch is the Funko plush, which looks fine once again. It's just not as good as the Funko figure, at least in my opinion. Next up is Arctic Ballora. I honestly forgot she existed for a second, but again, good Funko figure, super detailed too. The Mystery Mini version is a little too dark of a blue for my liking, and is also hitting quite a strange pose, almost like she's reaching for a hug. Still good regardless though. Finally rounding up our snow-covered counterparts is Frostbite Balloon Boy. With such a, interesting design, you'd think there wouldn't be a whole lot of merch, right? Wrong, that actually happened to this version. His Funko plush, honestly, for what it is, isn't half bad. While it might not even really look like a FNAF character at first, it looks like the model, so the Mystery Mini may in fact be a bit better, with the inclusion of his weird balloon weapon thingy and sign. But this translucent plastic they use for like the entire figure is just not what he looks like. This is technically snow, not ice. I guess it's his worst. The only other actual character for FNAF AR here, 8-Bit Baby, only has a Mystery Mini, which looks really cool. Our only Circus Baby skin, being Heartsick Baby, also only has a Funko Mystery Mini. But, all around, it's okay. Her eyes are the wrong color completely, but Oh well. And the last of our seasonally released skins is Blackheart Bonnie, who also has an okay Funko figure. His mold seems to be specially made for this guy, which is just kind of funny to me. And his worst is, kinda the Funko plush. It feels wrong since I do like it, but a large sense of this skin's appeal, at least to me, is with the translucent body material, which can't be achieved here. It just wasn't in the cards for you, little guy. And with that, every other FNAF AR skin that I haven't mentioned yet has either no Funko figure, mystery mini, or plush. Or candy case? Still, why was this made? Which, thankfully, brings us back to Steel Wool's characters, finally getting to Security Breach. And who better to start with than Glamrock Freddy? And this should be no surprise, but his best is the Funko statue. It perfectly captures the game's main concepts, gimmicks, and general vibe while displaying Freddy, Vanny, and Gregory in his first and only figure debut in some undisclosed area of the Pizzaplex. It's not without its problems. Notice no mouse stripe, lightning bolt in the chest, or just his lazy eye, but for what it is, it captures these characters greatly. At least better than their figure versions ever could. The good news with our Glamrocks here is that they have quite a lot of merchandise on their plates, whether it be plushies, keychains, or squish me stickers? Yeah, Just Toys seems to keep coming back with more FNAF squishy things, this time featuring a normal, beheaded, and a sticker series. Maybe I could see interest for kids in the other two series, but what's exactly the point in this one? I'm specifically pointing at the rare 1 of 18 Golden Glamrock Freddy Squish Me. Without even touching on his design, the normal one is easily the better product here. Why would I spend the time or money investing in a lazy gold version of a character that I'm assuming is supposed to represent the Pizzaplex's main statue? At least with Funko's mystery minis, there was an, albeit small, effort at a more interesting version of the character. Well, sorta, but this is just ugly. Not a sticker I would imagine placing anywhere, really. Quite different from Glamrock Freddy, Montgomery Gator has gotten quite the short end of the stick when it comes to general merchandise. This also happened in the game itself, but it seems that lots of different companies had a hard time nailing this character's intricate design traits. That was until pretty recently Hex stepped in with their Security Breach plush wave, and I personally think they really killed it with Monty. I love the use of different textures and fabrics for his pants, gloves, and belt, and the addition of his yellow base looks awesome too. However, like I said before, his likeness hasn't always been this sharp. That's right, those dastardly blind bag keychain hangers have made their grave return. This time featuring Monty, is he holding a gun? Hold on now, it's technically supposed to represent a phaser blaster, like the one seen in game. However, regardless of what's seen on the packaging, each figure holds a black colored one. While it is quite funny, these figurines on their own don't really hold up that well anyway, with Monty being significantly worse here. Moving on from that, we have Glamrock Chica, who's here to satisfy her endless hunger for good merch with the U2's plush. And I feel that the designs for U2's plushies can be a bit hit or miss sometimes, but their Security Breach line definitely stood out for how greatly stylized each one was, at least compared to their first FNAF plush line. It ditches the barren U2's eyes, replacing them with, in my opinion, better ones, and captures all of her important details in a small cutesy plush. Weird thing is, Glamrock Chica merch overall is actually not that bad. Even with some of her worst, there's still a lot of paint detail here that makes it, at least at these price points, worth it in my opinion. Still, this mystery box plush keychain for her is among the worst here. I feel the earrings would have looked better being a connected felt material, kind of like the bow tie and hair, because it's plush like Chica. Like I said though, it's actually probably one of the better ones in this set. Last on our list of Glamrocks is Roxanne Wolf, and I think our U2's figure takes the best spot here. All of her animatronic parts are separated and painted on really well. Her hair looks great, a place that other merchandise just straight up ignores, and her pose is dynamic enough to really stand out. I think she would like this one. Make sure I'm getting this right. The Security Breach Roxy Fidget Spinner from Just Toys is, it's perfect. For the daycare attendant, let's split them in two and start with Sun first. And I know I took a break from saying it, but his best is the Funko figure. While I'm not entirely sure what made Funko finally lock in with the new Security Breach batch, this guy looks like he came from a completely different line next to his counterparts. The model is practically spot on. The paint looks great with the addition of a subtle black wash on the figure, and even the pants do a good job of hiding the segmented joint to a point where the articulation is not as limited. And you know what? Moon's best is also the Funko figure. They're practically the same, at least using the same body mold. Their heads and paint are obviously a bit different. Overall, just great figures in general. Can't exactly say the same here though. One of the micro figures you're able to get in Fat Mojo's Grab and Go Security Breach blind bags is this really strange green sun figure. Stands at about 1.5 inches tall and Yeah, I mean, he's green. And Moon's isn't much better either. He's blue. There strangely are normal variants of these guys. I just don't see much reasoning for these more colorful ones, but they do exist. Almost look like gummies or something. Unfortunately, just like his previous version, DJ Music Man, as of the time I'm making this video, has no sort of figure, mystery mini, or anything in between. But I do want to mention the smaller Music Men, is that what they're called? As featured in 8-Bit Ryan's second YouTube figure, you can spot one just above Ryan's head, so there you go, I found one. Fanny! For how little she actually appears in-game, Fanny seems to be as much in the spotlight as the rest of the Glamrocks when it comes to merchandise for the series. In fact, Funko posting an early look at their Security Breach wave of figures was the very first time we saw our official design for Security Breach. Whoops. And it didn't leave fans with much to celebrate, but I'd say at least down the line, the Funko Snap figure is an almost perfect interpretation. Now, sure, unlike Helpy, these proportions are a little whack for representing the general shape of her body. But for taking adherence to the line itself, this figure is easily one of the best. The sculpt is fantastic, with all the stitching and line work molded into the figure. The different faceplates are great, one I believe representing the Vanny Vision scenes from the game, and the fact that you're actually able to see Vanessa underneath the mask is awesome too. I will say, it looks like someone shot her in the head, but I'm not really sure how they'd get around that. And I don't know how I feel about the pizza cutter accessory, but overall, really good for the line. Speaking of different series, Just Toys didn't only make 3 different Squish Me blind bag lines, but also 3 different series of craftables. Basically, each figure came with a small section of either their interpretations of the main stage, Gator Golf, or I'm not sure where this is exactly, maybe just a later stage of the game, I don't know. They're meant to be assembled, where the craftable part comes into play, to the point where you have a complete set if you collected every figure. Problem is, most of them don't look too good. And while the 3rd series definitely seemed to up the paint jobs of the figures, this Vanny is just not very good at all. While Vanny's Just Toys design, I guess, can sometimes come off being quite charming, honestly, this Vanessa design looks more like the Joker? This figure smile is way too big. The set as a whole really doesn't represent the character, and it just looks strange. I don't know. You might be thinking, lotodots, why in the world did you put the Funko Glamrock Freddy statue as its best, but completely skip the statue with Vanny and Vanessa? Well, even though these characters literally have to be one and the same, I'm gonna do a little cheating and put them here individually. I mean, their designs are drastically different, and the game itself seems to not really know if they're the same character or not anyways, so who cares? Meaning that Vanessa's best is the Funko statue this time. There's not too much I can add here really. Both of these characters look phenomenal, even if it doesn't make much sense why they're next to each other. But, oh man, I've been waiting a while to show this one off. Or an Eldritch Abomination is, well, up to debate. Or not, this is really ugly. Glad to say, it's still the worst. Just Toys' Vanessa keychain, coming from their first blind bag keychain set for Security Breach, of course, isn't really that bad. At least I could probably imagine a worse one, but it's definitely the worst she has right now, because her Snaps figure isn't half bad at all. Speaking of Snaps, I'm killing it with these transitions. The best for our lovely roaming staff bots is the Snaps figure. As 1, it looks great. 2, it comes with a shattered faceplate, and 3, it's all they got. Might as well put the Pat Pats here too. They do have a couple U2's products, being a figure, plush, and shoulder pet. Stylistically, they're all pretty much the exact same thing, so they're all good? You know what? Sure, they're all the best. And last, but certainly not least, Burn Trap, who only has a U2's figure. Looks great though. Blob, or Tangled, doesn't have anything at all. And besides Gregory, which I already sort of covered, that's basically every single character in Security Breach. Oh, not its DLC though. Ruined Freddy has nothing. Ruined Monty has a U2's figure. Actually super impressive they were able to make an appealing design out of this guy. He's like the only one I thought everybody would avoid, which seems to be the case actually. Speaking of which, yeah, this is probably the best too. I generally can't say a bad thing about this figure. It's literally perfect. The heavy black wash gives Chica a great withered effect. The model is basically 1-to-1, and given its skinny limbs, it's just so fun to pose. Seriously though, this is a top contender for like the best Funko FNAF thing ever, maybe. Her other pieces of merch, as of now, being a Funko Pop and a U2's figurine, are both really good too. Once again, I can't in good faith put either as the worst. Unless it's the early U2's figure, that didn't look too good. This also applies to Eclipse. Best is the Funko figure, worst is nothing. Come on, none of these look bad at all. They really locked in here. Side note, Ruined Sun and Moon, not sure if these technically count as separate characters, only have Funko plushies. They look good, not much to say here again. Ruined Roxy's up next, and again, her Funko figure looks great. Superposable and full of detail. Funko definitely went out with a bang here. However, compared to the Ruined Chica one, I feel that Ruined Roxy's U2's figure is just lacking something. It's still good, don't get me wrong, but Chica's had a unique base and pose, while Roxy's is kinda there. Maybe the worst. Depends on what you like, I guess. Especially when you consider how well U2's treated their Mexus figure. It looks fantastic, given its strange characteristics and proportions. In fact, U2's figures and plushies practically fill out the entire rest of the characters here, as Funko hasn't even attempted merch for Helpy, Glamrock Bonnie, or the Mimic. Which just leaves us with Cassie. Currently, there are no figures, plushies, mystery minis, etc. for her. Only a lone U2's plush, which, again, I don't count here. Intermingles too closely with my no art rule. But yeah, that's actually it for Security Reach and Ruin. On to Up 1 and 2, and nothing for this one just yet. This is where a small problem arises when making a video like this. Newer games are generally going to have less merchandise overall. Like how Into the Pit only has a U2's plush for Pit Bonnie and a few pins. It's going to be hard to pinpoint the best and worst merch for a character when they only have a U2's plush. But I think that's it. Every character in the Five Nights at Freddy's series, wait. For Candy, his best is the Hex plush. He's stinking adorable, a great shade of blue, and comes with a burger. Please restock. I don't really think he has a worst either. Everything here looks really good. For Pop Goes, or Oliver, I really like the long U2's plush for some reason. Makes sense why he would look like this. He is a weasel. Worst is probably the Funko plush. I like the way it ties into the universe, but something's off about it. Very soft though. Blake only has a Funko plush. It's fine. Lots of printing here though. Ignited Freddy has a really cool looking U2's figure, even if it's not technically Withered Freddy. But something is definitely wrong with the U2's plush. I feel like there was probably a better way to design the whole jaw area. For Ignited Foxy, he's only got a U2's plush, but it definitely works a bit better here than Ignited Freddy, I think. Movie time! For the main four animatronics, even though I already sort of technically mentioned them, I guess I'm counting the new Funko Pop designs as their best. At least they're attempting to copy the film designs for these guys. You can definitely tell with Foxy. I'm not sure if these technically count or not. I've seen some people say they are, but I won't count them here for now. For Mike, his U2's figure looks great. Takes a memorable scene from the film, adapts it fairly well into the usual U2's design scheme, and Shreddy looked good too, 2 in 1. Worst is the U2's plush by default, just a case of not being as visually interesting as the figure. I still love this guy a lot though. Same thing going on because the Yellow Rabbit's got a phenomenal U2's figure. Having interchangeable heads, a checkered base plate, and just a great design really helps here. The plush, while not bad at all, is just lacking any of the pizzazz from the figure. Can't really say much more about it. Noticing a pattern here. You probably don't agree, but I like this extremely newly shown Vanessa U2's plush. I just like that she has a jacket. Simple as that. U2's figure doesn't have a jacket. It's also kind of boring. Abby's U2's figure definitely isn't though, featuring another glimpse at a pretty memorable scene from the film. I like it a lot. The U2's plush is good too, just not as good as the figure once again. Balloon Boy, at least a small toy from the film, has an almost identical looking U2's figure. So cool to get something that so closely matches an in-universe item like this. The U2's plush, however, just sort of confuses me. Is it supposed to be a plush of the movie version, or the game version, or just BB? I'm not sure. It looks fine on its own though. I'm getting tired of saying this. Bob and Ness only have sole U2's figures. Not much to say or compare to, just yeah. Sparky, or best and really only piece of merch, is the U2's plush. Still don't understand why the eyes look like that when this is literally in the same set, but whatever. And just for good measure, Daco's small cameo as the employee of the month for July does have a makeshift plush. Again, nothing to compare to. Okay, bonus round over. Phew, I'm officially done covering the best and worst pieces of merchandise, when only considering things akin to figures or plushies for every single Five Nights at Freddy's character. That's it. At least I'm pretty sure. There's like absolutely nothing for any book characters or just really obscure one-offs. Which, thinking about it, is pretty funny considering we have absolutely nothing for either the Stitch Wraith or Eleanor, but, of course, Chipper and his son both have U2's figures. This series.